Hey, what's up guys? Today I'm doing a review on the Hayabusa Talon boxing shoes. So check it out. Hey guys, Carlo here. Today I'm doing a review on the Hayabusa Talon boxing shoes. These retail for $149 on Hayabusa's website. I got mine in this beautiful black, red, and icy green outsole colorway in size 11. Additional colorways include white and lavender, royal blue and yellow, green and khaki, as well as all black. You can get these anywhere between size 4 all the way to size 13. And unfortunately, they do not offer these shoes in half sizes, which is a bit of a problem for myself, which I'll discuss here a little bit later on in terms of sizing. The shoes themselves are designed here in North America and they're manufactured in China. Now, in terms of the actual material used for this shoe, it uses a synthetic mesh and polyurethane upper with an EVA midsole and a rubber outsole. In terms of height, I would consider this to be a mid-top shoe. So to me, mid-tops, in my opinion, are pretty much the perfect size for a boxing shoe that you can use every day. Now, boxing shoes, they have low tops, mid tops, which are the most common, and they also have high tops. Mids are really the best of both worlds because you're getting the support of a high top shoe higher up on your leg, or should I say on your ankle, without the inconvenience of a high top. Now, high tops are really good, you know, if you're going into a pro fight and you need that support and you like the aesthetics of a high top shoe. But for everyday use, they can be kind of a pain because you have to lace them all the way up. And when you want to remove them, you got to delace them. And so it's a little bit more time consuming, especially if you're using the shoes every day. With the low top, aesthetically, I just don't think they look as nice as a mid-top shoe. Plus, you're not getting the same level of ankle support because the shoe doesn't go higher up around the ankle like you would with the mid-top. So to me, the mid-top is really kind of the best of both worlds in terms of the height of the shoe. You get the support that you're looking for, the aesthetics, and the convenience all really in one. So definitely like the mid-top aspect of the shoe. From a design standpoint, you can see this is a very attractive looking shoe. I think Hayabusa did an excellent job in terms of the aesthetics and look of the shoe. Starting from the top, you have this polyurethane right here at the very top or the crown of the shoe. You have the 2 eyelet holes as well. On the back, you also have the back ankle or heel strap, which is nice to hold on to, especially when you're sliding your heel into the back of the shoe. So it gives you a little bit of leverage to put your heel and drop your heel down into the back of the shoe. You can also use this to hang it, and you can also use this as well to guide the laces if you have extra lace that you want to go and give yourself a little extra support. Again, you have synthetic mesh that lines this upper portion of the shoe that goes all the way around, down into the toe box, up and around, and all the way into the back. You also have that Hayabusa logo that's rubberized on the back of the heel. You have long, round laces with plastic tips at the end. The tongue also has a lace guide that holds the laces into place with the tongue, and it has these little embroidered dashes. I love the fact that they use embroidery throughout the shoe rather than printing. It just gives it a much more premium look and feel. So again, you do have that synthetic material on the upper that gives it the breathability. You're also trying to save on weight as well, where you're not using leather or a little bit heavier type of fabric in the shoe. Coming down to the mid and lower section, you have the Hayabusa on this polyurethane that's embossed into the shoe diagonally on both sides. And then you also have this faux synthetic suede material right here at the bottom in red, aligned together with this polyurethane leatherette or synthetic leather that comes around in red as well. It does say Talon across right there. And right here at the toe box, it does say Hayabusa with that same synthetic suede type material. In the unboxing video, I also mentioned that there's this little red thread that they put here, and that to me is just purely for aesthetics. It doesn't really do anything other than just kind of give the shoe a little bit more of a detailed look with that red. Initially, when I first saw it, I thought it was something temporarily like that they put on the shoe that you had to cut off, but it's actually part of design of the shoe. So it just kind of gives it a unique look. So you have the Talon, and then obviously the rubber outsole that has a herringbone pattern on the bottom, and you can see that it is nice and grippy in terms of grip lateral movement. If you're looking for something that has excellent grip lateral movement, this will definitely give it to you. And you'll notice that they also have the Hayabusa right here on the ball of the foot. You have this midsection here that's nice and solid. Obviously, you have an EVA midsole, which is going to give you that rigid feel as well as the support you're looking for so that the shoe doesn't flex when you're moving laterally. And then you also have this nice rubberized heel cup. The back of the shoe where the heel is at is nice and hard, so it locks your foot into place. And then you also notice that the outsole also rises up on the edges right here. So again, in terms of lateral and front and back, forward and back movement, you have the ability to move with full confidence. You're not going to feel like you're going to slip. Sometimes it can also be a little bit too grippy, especially if you're using this on a boxing ring with a canvas. You'll notice that it grips very nicely as well. You can see that the grooves in the actual grip are pretty deep. Now, if you're going to compare this to some of the other old school style flat sole boxing shoes with a flat outsole that just has a textured, a very minimalized textured, even the Mizuno's has that rubber outsole, it's very minimally textured. This one is definitely more grippy. So if you're boxing in a gym that has like polished concrete floors, or the floors are a little bit slicker, it doesn't have a texture on it, to me these are better because you're going to get a little bit more traction when you're moving compared to the outsoles on other shoes like the Mizuno's, where it doesn't have as deep as groove and rubberized grip. The other thing about these shoes too, because of how deep the grooves are on the outsole, in terms of wear, I feel like these are going to wear much better in terms of longevity, where the outsole isn't so thin and you end up going right through the outsole and burning through it. That brings me on to my next point. This shoe is really good for cross training as well. It's not as supportive as the Everlast Elite shoes, where it has a thicker mid and outsole that uses that Michelin rubber, but you can use this, if you're doing any type of high interval training, if you're doing box jumps, any type of conditioning that has a little bit more impact on your knees and your lower back. I feel like the midsole and the outsole here offer more cushioning than your traditional boxing shoe, which leads me to my next thing. You also have a removable insole. So another great feature is that Hayabusa gives you a removable insole, and the quality of this insole is actually pretty nice. It doesn't feel like an afterthought. Sometimes you get shoes and they just throw this foam insert into the inside of the shoe. It's cheap, it feels like crap, it offers really no protection, and it's more or less just there to say that they put an insole in there, and you end up replacing it anyway. So the fact that they give you a really nice insole, it's really thick, about an inch in thickness on the heel portion, I'd say about a 1/4 inch towards the toe area. And then you also notice that the insole, and hopefully I can capture this in the video, is actually textured. So if you're looking at it, you'll notice that there's little bumps where your toes are at, and then in the mid portion of your foot as well as the heel, there's a little bit of like these little lines and dimples, and that helps. Obviously you're going to be wearing these shoes with socks. At least I hope you're wearing socks when you're wearing your boxing shoes, but you're going to be wearing socks. So the last thing you want is for your feet to slide around on the inside of the shoe. So these little dimples and little pieces of texture here allow for your foot to really kind of like lock in. And again, you have a nice amount of cushioning on the heel that gives you the support you're looking for. So again, if you're using this for your traditional boxing training, where you're hitting the bag, sparring, works great. But say you're done with your training for the day and maybe you have a conditioning coach and he's like, all right, let's do a conditioning circuit. You're going to do box jumps, and then you're going to do you're going to do a sled pull. You're going to do some battle ropes and all that. You can keep these shoes on and not have to worry about switching to another pair of sneakers to do that training. You can really do it in this shoe as well. So definitely like the fact that it's versatile in that. Now, the next thing I did want to mention is going to be weight. These shoes are heavier than the typical boxing shoe. That was the first thing I also noticed, is when I pulled them out of the box, when you feel the shoes, they're actually heavier, especially if you can compare it to the other Hayabusa shoes and even Adidas boxing shoes. Now these weighed in at about 17.7 ounces, so a little bit over a pound each. The left, I believe, was 17.3 and the right was 17.7. For an example, if you want to compare the Adidas SpeedX shoes, the newer ones are about 11.1 to 11.3 ounces. So you're looking at about an average of a 6-ounce increase in weight per shoe. So it is definitely a heavier shoe, and a lot of that has to do with the EVA midsole and that rubber outsole adding weight to it. I personally am not a huge fan of the extra weight, but I'm also not against it in the fact that if you're training, I like to make things difficult for myself. So the added weight, I just consider that to be a bonus when it comes to my conditioning. So if you're going to use this for your training, yes, adds more weight, but it makes it a little bit more difficult for you to lift your feet up. And then when you finally put on a lightweight pair of boxing shoes, it feels like nothing compared to these. So you could look at it in that kind of positive light rather than looking at a glass half empty and saying these are way too heavy. So I look at it like it's helping me with my conditioning and my footwork, but it definitely is heavier. And lastly, when it comes to sizing, now the first thing I mentioned earlier was that this does not come in half sizes, which I think is unfortunate for any boxing shoe. I hate when companies don't have sizes because, you know, everyone has different size feet, both in terms of length and width. And to me, half sizes is really the bridge that makes a perfect shoe size. I typically wear size 10 and a half in boxing shoes. Or should I say, I typically wear size 10 and a half in shoes, but I usually get size 11 in boxing shoes, excuse me. And the reason I do that is because boxing shoes tend to be more snug fitting. So I decided to get these shoes in size 11. And honestly, these feel a little bit on the loose side, which is a first for me to say that. So these to me are true to size, even for wide feet. I feel that the shoe is a little bit roomier, so I might get a thicker insole to kind of fill that void. But if they offered this in 10 and a half, this would have been the perfect size. I'm afraid to go with size 10 because now I'm afraid the shoes are just going to be too tight. So I'm kind of like in this in-between spot where they don't have half sizes. If I get 11, they feel a little bit too loose. And if I get size 10, I'm afraid it's going to be too tight and uncomfortable. So to me, that's where the 10 and a half would have been perfect. Now, if you were size 10 or you're a whole size 10, 11, whatever you are, and you have regular or even wide feet, then go true to size. You don't have to go up, you don't have to go down. Just go with your size. If you're size 10, go with size 10, and these should fit you perfect. Again, I feel like the areas that I personally have issues with are going to be the width of the toe box in a lot of boxing shoes. And with these, they're actually really comfortable. I didn't find any type of numbness, any type of pinching around the corners and the edges of my feet when it comes to the toe box. So that's, to me, the biggest area where you find kind of it where it gets kind of choked out. And you'll notice by the outsole and just the actual shape of the sole itself, regardless of, of the actual outsole and how that looks, you'll notice that the shape is very, I wouldn't say rectangular-ish, but it's more oval. Where if you see some other boxing shoes like the Nike Macho Minds or even the Hyper KOs, it kind of has a choke point. It kind of starts off, it kind of rounds out a little bit, and then it comes to this really narrow choke point, and then it opens back up on the heel. Where this one, you can see, even though the rubber kind of comes to a bottleneck right here in the midfoot, it does stay, in terms of the structure of the shoe, pretty oval throughout. So it gives you a good ample amount of room with these shoes. So overall, I really like these shoes. I wish it came in half sizes, and I wish it was slightly lighter. It's not going to be as heavy as they should be, but I think they look amazing in terms of aesthetics. I get a lot of compliments on these shoes at the gym. Everybody thinks they look amazing, or they ask what kind they are, what other colors they offer. So I think Hayabusa did a great job with the way they look. I like the mid-top height. I love the quality of the shoes. They feel very premium. The stitching on here looks really nice. I love the removable insole, so that's great as well. Just a couple small details, and I think this would be really the perfect boxing shoe. So if you guys have any questions or comments, make sure you guys leave them down below as usual. I'll put the link in the description box where you can find these Hayabusa Talon boxing shoes. I'll see you guys later. Peace.